Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Four-Eyed Start and Sits here at fantasyandframes.com. I'm your host this week, Jorge Edwards. With me, let's go around the frames and introduce the newbie. Let's introduce the new guy here at Fantasy and Frames, cranking out articles each week. You can find his articles every Friday, posted on fantasyandframes.com. I'm talking about Teddy Ricketson. How you doing, sir?
Doing well, man. About as well as we can with everything going on. But at least, we're getting to the point. Last day without football for the week, so looking forward to it.
Nice. And, of course, we got Nate Markham. Nate, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great. Good to see you, Teddy.
You as well.
And, of course, got our adopted brother, David Ibrahim from Fantasy Go. How you doing, sir?
What's going on? Good to meet you too, Teddy. First time.
You as well. The accent just threw me off. Okay.
I put it on. It's pretend.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Exactly.
So just a reminder, every week you can find us, as you see scrolling at the bottom of your screen, here at 8 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. Now, for those here in the United States, we have a little thing called Thanksgiving that'll be starting next week. I will plan on having a show next Wednesday. Whoever wants to show up here is more than welcome, and as well as everybody else who's watching, more than welcome. Come on by and get some start and sit information, especially for those 3 Thanksgiving games that we're all looking forward to. And also remember, every Sunday, as you see also scrolling at the bottom of the screen, you can find us here at 11 a.m. Eastern, the Four-Eyed pregame show. We cover every single game, every single fantasy relevant player on offense and for IDP, because IDP still counts. IDP is still awesome. Play IDP fantasy football. And with that, let's just get into our show. We don't like to waste your time. We get you all the information you need, and then we get out, and you get out and enjoy the rest of your life. So let's start this week. Let's talk some quarterbacks, some start and sit options. David, let me start with you. Who's a quarterback that you're kind of you're confident in this week?
It's my boy, my hometown boy, Cam Newtown, a guy who last week went over 200 yards for the first. I understand it was his first touchdown since week 3, but he had the Rona. Okay, then there was a bye week, so I'm giving him a pass. All right. Cam Newton looked very good against a stout Ravens defense. I think he's going to go over 300 yards this week. He's going to get 1 or 2 in the air and 1 on the ground. So fire him up.
Very nice. Nate, what about you, my friend?
I don't know. Come on, Dave. You think he's going to throw another one? He already had his 7-week window of throwless, passingless touchdown streak.
The Rona's completely left the body, okay? It's completely left the body.
The Rona's left the body. Wow.
His kryptonite was the Corona. Now he's Super Cam again, okay?
Yep. I'll tell you who he might actually need the Corona to play somehow better is Drew Lock. I am sitting Drew Lock this week. I know you said start, didn't you?
Whichever you want.
I'm on the bash Drew Lock bandwagon right now, and I just jumped right into it because honestly, aside from that 2 fourth quarters that was garbage time comeback, he has the lowest true completion percentage of any starter in the NFL. He has the 3rd most danger passes in the NFL, and he's going against a Miami defense that if you look at them right now over the last really 3 weeks, their defensive special teams unit as a whole, if you're streaming defensive teams and I know we're not doing defense, look at Miami. Over the last 3 weeks, they're ranked number 1, tied with Pittsburgh and New Orleans in that time frame. I don't like the matchup. Drew Lock is already banged up. He's supposed to play, which is even worse. I'm out.
Teddy, how about you? What's a quarterback that you're interested in?
So I'm actually going to take the other side of that Denver matchup. I'm actually going to take Tua. Tagovailoa. However you say his last name. Can't say his last name.
We'll just go with Tua. It's okay.
Tua tag.
You know what I'm going to call him? Starting quarterback.
There you go.
And so, from what we've seen, the first time we saw him take the field, it was awful. He was like 2 for 2, 9 yards. Even the first full start he had like terrible passing, only had 1 touchdown, couldn't get the ball down the field. That changed, right, since we've seen that happen. He can get the ball down the field. We like some of the other kind of position players that are kind of surrounding him now with some new emergences at running back. And so I think just with the chemistry on the team, with a bad Denver defense or that bad Denver team, I think Drew Lock's either going to kind of pull out a random close game, so Tua's going to have to throw the ball a lot, or, he's just going to still be able to sling it. We might even see him move a little bit since he's going to be at Denver.
Nice. This week I'm going to go against the grain here, but I'm liking Carson Wentz against Cleveland. I think this is going to be a bounce back game. I think all these weapons coming back for Philadelphia. The emergence of Jalen Reagor in the receiving game. Yes, Travis Fulgham had a horrible week with 1.3 half PPR points, something I know a little bit about because I started him everywhere I had him. Boo-hoo, woe is me. But Miles Sanders is back. You got the running game feeding off of the passing game feeding off of the running game. Dallas Goedert's back. It just seems like this is a great matchup. The Cleveland Browns secondary isn't exactly known for being the great cover corner shutdown unit in the NFL. So give me some Carson Wentz. Quarterback, I'm gonna say sit, but where I really should say is temper expectations on, and that's Aaron Rodgers. Going against Indianapolis, they have a really great pass rush, a great linebacking core, a great secondary. Let's talk about who are these receiving options for Green Bay that you can trust in fantasy. Davante Adams, despite his phantom ankle injury that he came out today and said that he's not sure if he's going to play, but he'll probably play. It's okay. Well, cool. That's good to know, Davante Adams. Thank you very much for confirming what we already know. But you have Davante Adams, you have Aaron Jones, who's basically the wide receiver too, even though he hasn't played in weeks for that team. You have Alan Lazard, you got Marquez Valdez-Scantling. These are boomer bust guys. Are you really trusting boomer bust guys at this point in your season? I mean, we're talking week 11. We're like 2 weeks away from going to the fantasy playoffs, or at least clinching our spots for the fantasy playoffs. I don't want to rely on boomer bust guys. I want guys that I have, good potential. And for Aaron Rodgers, if you're Aaron Rodgers from a football standpoint, can you trust these guys? Like, I don't think he actually trusts these receivers yet. I think when push comes to shove against tough defensive matchups, he's going to go to his one guy, and I think they're going to try and scheme him away. So that leaves Aaron Jones. Well, what's the problem with Aaron Jones? He's not really seeing the field too much. Jamal Adams is seeing more snaps the past few weeks, with Aaron Jones also being there. Look out for Aaron Rodgers this week as far as a potential sit. Let's go to anybody else have anything to add to that? David, who are you not a fan of?
Mr. Discount Double Check was mine. I think he's going to give a discount double check to your fantasy points this week, truth be told. But actually, that was a guy that I was going to say was a potential start. A guy who I'm tempering expectations. You may have to play him. Is Tom Brady? He's going up against a real stout Rams defense, who have shut down everyone. They shut down Russell Wilson in a big way last week. I think Brady will still give you acceptable points, but I'm not expecting much over 200 yards, maybe 1 or 2 in the air.
Yeah, I think if I had to start somebody, if there's a streamable, which is something like we just talked about, which is kind of when you look at the bye weeks, it's Buffalo, Josh Allen, managers, of course, are looking to pivot from him. But then you have the Giants. Chances are you're not starting Daniel Jones and have to pivot away. Chances are you're not starting Nick Mullins with San Francisco. And chances are you're not starting Nick Foles because the obvious. But that being said, if you have to, I got to tell you, there's rumors and the report is that Big Ben was calling his own plays last week, and he might go in being able to call the plays this week again. And I don't know if that's just, rhetoric or if it was actually happening. If that's the case, I don't know about any of you three. If I'm calling the plays, guess what? I'm airing that bitch out all day. I'm chucking it. I'm throwing around. James Conner has me scared. He looks kind of lost and slow. Didn't hit the hole real well. Obviously, Cincinnati was stacking the box. But Deontay Chase, Juju against Jacksonville, who has allowed the most points to opposing quarterbacks over the last 4 weeks. I know you can't really trade or sign him, but I'm in.
We got Pats fan 87 asking for tomorrow's Thursday night matchup. Carlos Hyde a must start? I do not think so personally. If Chris Carson cannot go, I'm all aboard the Alex Collins train. His first game, he only had 2 attempts to DJ Dallas's 7. But you look at last week, 11 rushing attempts for Alex Collins to 2 for DJ Dallas. That was the entire running back core for Seattle. I'm rolling with Alex Collins to answer your question. Nate, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I don't want any. The word what throws me off is the must. The must start part. No. If you have to start, I think it's you could
David Moore. Love it.
But yeah. David Moore, so they said Lockett was supposed to play. Pete Carroll said today that Tyler Lockett.
Pete Carroll is a liar.
He is a liar. I know.
He's a liar.
He also will say that Carlos Hyde's going to get the majority of the work or that DJ Dallas will. Don't trust any of them.
He also promised Thomas Rawls is going to start tomorrow, so I don't believe him.
Hey, you know what? I'm still a believer in Thomas Rawls. I know it's been a few years, but he had a few games there.
Dude, I don't think Thomas Rawls believes in Thomas Rawls right now.
Have they re-signed Marshawn Lynch yet?
No.
See, he's still out?
They're still working on the deal with Christine Michael first, and then they'll move.
Oh, Seawoke?
What about Eddie Lacy?
That's
Eddie Lacy
2015.
Oh, yeah.
2015 or 16 right there. Love that guy. All right, let's go running back starts and sits. Running backs that you're comfortable with. Let me go with the running back I'm not comfortable with. Todd Gurley, this whole, being productive thing, this touchdown regression thing, I think that is a thing. This New Orleans Saints defense is really good against the running game. I'll tell you what, Nate, you and I, we do our podcast, the Fantasy Playbook podcast. David, you're also there for fantasy data. And we were talking about this. What can we expect from Todd Gurley fantasy points-wise? Does he get a touchdown? Does he get you double-digit points? I think he gets a touchdown, but gets under double-digit fantasy points. I don't see this running game doing anything productive. I'm more concerned about Brian Hill than I am Todd Gurley if I was New Orleans. I'm fading Todd Gurley this week. Somebody I'm high on. Look, whether it's J.D. McKissick or whether it's Antonio Gibson, any Washington running back, those two, very high on. They found a way to make them both fantasy viable. All the check down passes that Alex Smith is throwing to J.D. McKissick, my God, in PPR leagues, it is amazing the output you're getting from him. So Washington running backs, yay. Atlanta running backs, boo. Teddy, what are you thinking?
So I'm kind of mulling between kind of two that I guess three that I don't feel great about. I think James Conner in that Steelers offense recently hasn't done great. Obviously, he's facing a bad Jacksonville team this week. So, I mean, obviously, you're probably still going to throw him out there. But the two for me that I'm feeling iffy about, I am not high at all on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He just hasn't done it for me this season. He hasn't performed well. Le'Veon Bell coming to that backfield, everybody thought it was going to make it worse. But really, Patrick Mahomes just likes throwing the ball. And he's really good at it. I don't know if you've tuned in. But he's pretty good at throwing the football. And so even though Edwards-Helaire has a good matchup going up against Las Vegas, I still can't say that I'm like super behind him. Like he's not really using the passing game consistently. And, I guess he is somewhat, but Bell is also receiving back. The other one is just, even though he's the starter, Duke Johnson for the Texans taking on New England, I'm not high on him either.
Talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I was going to say, as the newbie here at Fantasy and Frames, that was probably the one person you didn't want to go after, just because a certain somebody who's right above you in the squares is
No.
Whenever you say anything negative about the Chiefs, it's automatically like, what did you say?
That's fair. I surrounded it with good things about Mahomes. Yeah.
No, but you're right. I mean, these two running backs are eating into each other's productivity, referring to Le'Veon Bell and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There are a lot of running back committees that are doing that.
There's no committee there. It's not Lev Bell. They're not even given. Lev Bell's phased out. I'm going to say this, and I mean this. I believe personally that I would almost rather have Darrell Williams than Lev Bell right now.
Wow.
Lev Bell's non-existent in the offense. There's nothing that they want to incorporate him into. I wouldn't be shocked to see him get 20% of the snaps this next week.
Nate, are you in your bathtub?
Yeah, seriously. Are you planning a bubble bath after this? By the way, show everybody the nice wine glass that you're drinking.
Yeah, I'm doing it to support my company.
Fantasy and Frames wine glass right there.
Hey,
how about that?
Where's mine? Where's mine?
You have different stuff heading your way. Okay, everybody has stuff heading their way. Little shout out to Teddy from Roadshow.
Oh, what up, man?
Man, he gets people shouting out saying, hey, and I get people talking shit to me about some Etsy candles. Hey, you know what? I don't care. 41 years old. I'll take a bubble bath in 15 minutes from now. Next Wednesday, live from the bubble bath. Good luck.
Okay.
I do
the Thanksgiving special, Nate from the bubble bath show.
Exactly.
Okay.
Giblets and all. Let's go.
Oh, Nate, since you're on a roll, let's start with you. What's a running back that you like or you don't like this week?
I don't like the Todd Gurley, like you said, to piggyback off that a little bit further if we're going to beat him into the ground, since I know Dave really, really loves, he's big and burly. He's Todd Gurley in your accent. New Orleans is allowing the third
my
fewest
man.
rush yards over the past 4 weeks, mind you, and has allowed 0 touchdowns. If you eliminate the touchdown game from Todd Gurley, you have me in the backfield.
You can't do that. You don't eliminate the touchdown. That is Todd Gurley's game. He's
okay.
Todd
You know what?
touchdown.
Yeah, but not if your team's not allowing touchdowns. He's also averaging 2.79 yards per carry. 2.79, it's pathetic. You know what it is. You have to rely on the touchdown. Again, if you're in a pinch, you probably have to start him. But if you don't have to, why in the world would you?
Todd Gurley scores touchdowns even when the team tells him not to. That's how good he is. All right.
Okay. But I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Dave, you a little bit of a comfort hug here. And I'm going to suggest that Damian Harris should be another good start this week. I think he's probably getting started in most leagues right now, but Houston's getting ravaged on the ground. You know, Damian Harris has been the RB9 over the last 3 weeks. So everything is working in his favor. The crazy thing is that he's facing so many 8-man boxes. I should get Bush, you're right. But you add that and you couple the fact that he's averaging so many attempts himself. Houston is allowing, mind you, 27 rush attempts per game. 27 rush attempts, not total touches to running backs, 27 rush attempts. The volume should be there. If he happens to get into the end zone, it's just an added little bonus.
David, what about you? Who's a running back that you're high and low on this week?
A guy that I'm big on this week is Kalen Bellagio. He's going to be sitting at the high roller table this week, guys. He's going all in. Look, I'm a big fan of Bellagio. It's only if Eckler sits. I know Eckler put that video last week of him running sprints. My gut feeling is Eckler still sits this week. I don't think they're going to rush him back, especially with the losing record. So I think Bellagio gets the lion's share of the touches. Josh Kelly, look, he's just not been effective. He's the number 2 back. Doesn't matter where he goes. A guy who I'm sitting is Rojo, Ronald Jones. I'm not buying that 100,000,000 rushing yard performance last week. It was 198-yard rushing touchdown. He fumbles every single week. Fournette is the better back there. I think Fournette is going to get the lion's share.
Very nice. Running back that I'm high on this week that I checked the waiver wire at 5 a.m. to make sure that he was available, and he was. And he's probably available in your league too. Selvin Ahmed, Miami Dolphins, former University of Washington Husky, 21 attempts for 85 yards and a touchdown. Look, he got all the rushing volume last week, like all the rushing volume. There wasn't any split carries. They inactivated Jordan Howard, and Jordan Howard's not even a Dolphin anymore. And who are they going against? The Denver Broncos. Did you see what Josh Jacobs and Devontae Booker did to this Denver defense? Give me Selvin Ahmed all day. Besides the opportunity, what's the old adage? You have a running back next to a mobile quarterback that's going to open up running lanes for the running back. There's a reason why we say this, folks, because it's true. So if he's available, let me put it another way. I'm starting him over Todd Gurley this week. That's how confident I am in Selvin
What?
Ahmed. Yes.
Get out of here. I know it's your show, but get out of here. All right.
The love for Todd Gurley knows no bounds.
I didn't say anything when the CEH talk happened because I understand. I do worry about CEH. I'm not unrealistic. Todd Gurley, fan club boy over here, wants to pitchfork and tar
riot and protest and all that.
Todd
jazz.
Gurley falls on the 20-yard line and they still call it a touchdown. That's how good he is, all right?
No, he can get his touchdown all he wants. He's just not getting yards. So
yeah, he can't even fall right. That's the problem. He can't even fall down right. That's
exactly. He'll try to score and he'll fall outside the end zone. Yeah. All right, let's go to wide receivers. Let's go wide receivers that we're very interested in playing. David, let's go with you, my friend.
So I'll start with a guy that I want to just pump the brakes on. If someone went on the waiver wire and looked at stats from last week, it's MVS. I know he's had 2 good weeks in a row, but look, they're going up against a very stout Colts defense, and there's only one guy that really is the old faithful for Aaron Rodgers. That's Devontae Adams. MVS did all that damage on 4 catches last week. That is not sustainable numbers. I don't think he does it again. So temper expectations there. A guy that I'm big on, actually, in the same game is Michael Pittman Jr. Went over 100 yards last week. 8 catches, I believe it was. He's looking sharp. He's running routes real clean, making good cuts. I think he does it again.
Nice. Nate, what about you?
I think we're a week late from last week. Christian Kirk was brought up, and obviously he didn't exactly execute like we thought. But this week, even juicier matchup. Gotta love the fact that this game has an implied point total of, I think, 185 right now, if Vegas is right. So that's obviously a little low for what I think is going to happen even. But you look at the last time they played, and he had 8 targets, 5 receptions, had 123 yards and a couple scores. And right now I think that the opportunity for him in this particular matchup, I mean, obviously I think all receivers on both sides of the ball are in play.
Teddy, what are your thoughts?
Sure. So, I mean, I know that he's facing the number 2 defense against wide receivers. Totally get it. I'm all aboard the T. Higgins train. I love T. Higgins.
Mm-hmm.
So, shout out to my girl Michelle on Ball Blast on Twitter. She pulled up this stat that I'm going to bring up. She said, since week 4, the top 5 wide receivers in receiving yards a game. You got your obvious Devontae Adams, Julio, Stephon Diggs. Number 4, T. Higgins. All right, even in a game where they're facing, like I said, one of the best pass defenses in the league, especially if you're in half-point PPR or even PPR, he's going to get the ball. Right? So I love T. Higgins this week and basically the rest of the season.
Very nice. Now, what about somebody that you're not too keen on this week?
So, Panthers receivers that aren't named Robbie Anderson. So
there you go.
Now we're gonna have a fight. Now we'll have a fight.
There you go.
As when we can, I'll take out the earrings. No, but as a Panther fan, I love, like, I want DJ Moore to score 4 touchdowns a game and Curtis Samuel to happen, but Curtis Samuel gets really kind of a lot of his boost from the ground game, and so in my mind that can't really be relied on, even though you are facing Detroit. So I mean, it probably can, but I think Robbie Anderson is basically a PPR god at this point. And so obviously you're starting Robbie Anderson, but past that, I'm fading DJ Moore, pun intended, every week.
So I need DJ Moore to be DJ less.
There you go. Yes.
Because he's we got Nate and I have a bet going on right now.
Oh, let me inform Teddy of the bet as well as all you.
You changed it to a thong bet. It was never a thong
I did
bet.
change it to a thong bet. Okay, let me. As you can tell, Teddy, we're going somewhere with this. So Nate is pro DJ Moore,
okay,
and David is pro Robbie Anderson.
Okay,
and so looking at stats from week 4 to the end of the fantasy football season, if DJ Moore ends up getting more fantasy points and half PPR scoring, okay. Then David will have to wear a Kansas City Chiefs thong.
You changed that rule, all right? It was never a thong.
If it's reversed, if Robbie Anderson scores more points than DJ Moore, Nate will have to wear a New England Patriots thong. And notice how I said not on air. I just said in general. Correct. So they will be sitting in front of the screen as they are now, and you will be able to see the shame in their eyes and know that what they're doing at that moment. Probably either Team DJ Moore or Team Robbie Anderson.
So from week 4 on, Teddy, let me ask you a question. From week 4 on, where would you expect Robbie Anderson to be overall amongst the wide receivers?
Wide receiver, probably first.
24.
I'm sure he's not based on what this.
Based on my lead-in questions and my
and who you have in the race, I'm guessing not.
He is 24th right now, and DJ Moore in that same time span is the wide receiver 9. So.
How many points am I trailing by?
I don't have that information because that would be probably a little less of impact. So I like to keep it as vague as possible so it looks worse than it is. Don't get me wrong. Robbie Anderson is 9-catch, 122 touchdown game away from taking that lead from DJ Moore. I know that every week. My Manscaped 3.0, which we're not a sponsor of, probably
not yet.
Dinosaur Rewind is there. Yeah, it's interesting.
On air.
Oh no, it's not on air. Nobody wants that. No.
Wide receiver, I'm kind of interested in this week. He was slated to pair up with Pierre Desir of the New York Jets, but Pierre Desir got released by the New York Jets, and so Jalen Guyton is the new Mike Williams for the Los Angeles Chargers. What do I mean by that? I mean he's the deep threat for the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert, he's looking downfield for one of those big long passes. He goes to Jalen Guyton. Mike Williams is actually being showcased in this offense, given by his average depth of target, by his yards after catch per reception. He's looking like a all-around good wide receiver. Yes, the matchups have not been in his favor. The fantasy points are up and down. No, go figure, because that's what Mike Williams has been known for. But this week, he's going to be paired up with Blesson Austin. I know I butchered his name. By the way, it's one of the best wide receiver cornerback matchups you could find in the NFL this week. So give me some Mike Williams this week. As far as sit any Dallas Cowboy, basically. I know there's going to be one that's going to go off, but I have no faith in Andy Dalton, to be honest with you. When he took over for Dak, he featured who did he feature? He featured my guy, Michael Gallup. Right. And then against Washington, he favored Amari Cooper. And let's not forget this offensive line for the Dallas Cowboys is not the offensive line that was there when they drafted Ezekiel Elliott. This all-pro offensive line. We're starting to see, in fact, we probably should have picked up on this a little bit earlier as fantasy analysts. I don't care what level of talent your skill position has in the backfield, referring to a running back or the skill positions you have out wide. Mm-hmm. If your offensive line can't open up running lanes, if they can't pass block, these guys aren't going to be putting up monster fantasy numbers. Ezekiel Elliott is already one of these big busts of the fantasy season because of this. Look at last year or 2 years ago, David Johnson, similar situation in Arizona. Some can make the argument for Saquon Barkley having, just getting hot at the right time towards the end of the last season, but for most of the season last year and the year before, wasn't really that great. He was one of those boomer bust plays. I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for that Saquon Barkley comment, but I just feel like offensive line should be taken more into consideration when you're looking at what you can expect from players. And this offensive line, they're missing their left tackle, they're missing their right tackle, they're missing their center. And Andy Dalton, who's slated to come back, he got hit pretty hard by John Bostic in Washington. How long is he going to be in there? What's his durability going to be like? I don't know. I'm not putting faith in Andy Dalton this week. And therefore, I'm downgrading all of the skill players there for Dallas. All right, for tight ends, who do we got? Teddy, let's go with you.
So I feel like with tight end, there's not really anybody you can really fade, in the sense that I think last week, wasn't it, depending on the league scoring you were in, the tight end one had like 13 points. So at this point, you're kind of just throwing somebody out there. But we talked about it pre-show. If you happen to be in an ESPN league, I don't think it's that bad of an idea to pick up Taysom Hill if you haven't already, in the sense that he gets tight end kind of positioning there, and you're basically one hit to Jameis or a few picks from Jameis away from being able to roll out two quarterbacks in one quarterback leagues.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think exactly like we also said is it doesn't even require an injury. I mean, it's just a scheme for Sean Payton. People said that they looked last year when Teddy Bridgewater came in. They did not incorporate Taysom Hill into that offense when Teddy was in. I don't know. I just think Sean Payton has him. I think he has a picture of Taysom Hill on his wall. He loves him. He wants to get him in as many game opportunities as he can. I mean, I'm unfortunately not in any of those leagues. So if you are, Teddy, I hope you crush it with them personally.
I picked him up. Nice.
And Nate, who you go for tight end? And don't say Travis Kelce.
I won't. Even though that's obvious. I mean, it's actually it is obvious. Vegas is actually pretty good against tight ends, but it's Travis Kelce. So
speaking of Vegas, the line for that Chiefs Raiders game is pretty high this week, isn't it?
That's Sunday night, isn't it? Sunday night game.
No, is it Sunday night?
I think it is.
I think it's a Sunday game. I could be wrong.
It is
that was my attempt at humor for the day. There we go. That's
very good.
Thank you.
If I'm gonna say confidently starting a tight end, since like Teddy said, it's hard to fade anybody. A person who I think is going to exceed expectations after last week, I think Austin Hooper might be in line for that rebound week against the Philadelphia Eagles defense that does allow points to the opposing tight ends. He kind of got mixed in that shuffle of the wind and rain and monsoon that was going on last week. But prior to the injury and everything, he was seeing a target share that was one of the highest in the league. So I see a situation where it might get back to that.
David, what are your thoughts on tight end?
Look, a guy who really took a step up last week with a new quarterback under center was Logan Thomas for the Washington football team. dude, the guy went off last week. He didn't score, but in PPR, he got you nearly as many points as Mark Andrews. So, look, I think he's going to get peppered with targets from Alex Smith, especially for someone who's probably free on the waiver wire right now. Definitely worth a start. And a guy that I'm fading a little bit this week is Mark Andrews, just because that entire Ravens offense has really taken a hit. I understand he's a safety blanket there for Lamar Jackson, but you're really relying on him getting peppered with targets, and he hasn't really been doing that lately.
Nice. Tight end that I'm interested in this week is Jared Cook. You look at who Jameis Winston would target early and often in Tampa Bay, and now is the tight end position. He's going to be going up against Deion Jones, linebacker for the Arizona Cardinals, who's not really that great in coverage, to be honest with you. So I think you can see a decent week for Jared Cook. Somebody I'm not on board with is actually Noah Fant. I mean, if he can actually play and if he's actually healthy.
Right.
Eric Rowe is the strong safety for the Miami Dolphins. He has been playing great. If you're in IDP leagues, and we're going to transition to IDP in a second, he has been playing very well, getting you at least 7 tackles. The solo to assist tackle ratio is fantastic. The more you have, the more points you're getting. So I just feel like this Miami defense, this Miami defense is going to really put the clamps on a lot of the receiving options, including Noah Fant this week. And with that, let's get into some IDP.
One thing I was just going to say is a guy who might be on your waiver wire, who I think comes back a little bit early, is George Kittle. If someone dropped him, I've been reading a lot of reports that he may be coming back in the next couple of weeks. So if you have the bench space or even an IR space, pick him up and just throw him in your IR spot. Worst case scenario, you drop him. Exactly. No harm, no foul.
In this RotoWire Online Championship League that I'm in, he was dropped, and and I picked him up. And these benches.
Dan Arnold, Jake.
Hey, Dan Arnold going into the season. Both Jake and I were actually a little high on, just because the player profile for him actually does turn into a good pass catching tight end. The problem is he hasn't done it, so our analysis was wrong.
All right, let's go to IDPs real quick.
Can't get them all right.
They're not all going to be gold, but you know what? No. Process over results.
Right,
right. All right, let's go to IDPs. I'll tell you what, the Eric brothers in Minnesota, Eric Hendricks, you should know for IDP. The past 3 games, 13 solo tackles, 8 assisted tackles. Let's talk about Eric Wilson, outside linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings. 15 solo tackles, so 9 assisted tackles to 1.5 sacks to an interception, forced fumble. This guy is the Swiss art. He's like Jalen Smith of the Dallas Cowboys, except he plays football good or well. He's getting everywhere. He's a Swiss Army knife, whether you need him to rush the passer, whether you need him to go in coverage, or whether you need him to make a tackle on the running back or whoever has the ball. He is fantastic, a great IDP start. Nate, who else do you got for IDP?
I did have Eric Wilson. I had the aforementioned Eric Rowe as a defensive back, because I figure at some point, I think Jerry Jeudy gets phased out of this game. If you look back at that, granted, we're not talking about wide receiver anymore, but this is a wide receiver to sit. Is Jerry Jeudy still? If we want to backtrack a little bit, because I think Xavier Howard's going to be matched up against him, which I would think would open up the middle to Fant if healthy, if that high ankle sprain cooperates. But Eric Rowe is one a guy. So this is gonna make you guys either really happy or sad. I think Max Crosby against the Chiefs is in line for a potential good play this week. Both Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher are on that whole COVID list. I haven't heard any more come as a result of that. Has me a little worried when there's not all these reports about positive tests or negative tests coming out and they're in line to play. I don't know what to think of that. And I'm going to pivot to another person who I like. If you happen to have an opportunity to start JPP for Tampa Bay, Andrew Whitworth, who had been a stalwart for the Rams for forever, he's out for the first time in, forever. And right now, JPP is lining up and should absolutely just destroy that other side.
It's not to interject, but did you see the Bucs game last week? JPP nearly got an interception, and the commentator goes, "Oh, he should have caught that." And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, "But how?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, short long-term memory isn't too good with that guy.
Yeah.
I did see a report for this. Speaking of the Oakland Raiders defense, that all the defensive starters for the Raiders have been quarantined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That can't be good. That can't be good.
They're going to have Derek Carr playing cornerback.
Another person for IDP, if he's available, safety for the Washington football team, Cameron Curl, has done well taking over for Landon Collins in terms of getting you the solo tackles that you want, as well as some of the assisted tackles. So definitely pay attention to him. For Pittsburgh, who do you not want? I mean, you want TJ Watt, you want Bud Dupree, you want who's the guy that I like? Blaine? No.
Robert Spillane.
There you go. Robert Spillane. This guy, another Swiss Army knife, getting to the passer, getting to the running back, playing in coverage. This guy is doing it all. Robert Spillane, I guarantee you he's probably available in your IDP leagues. Pick him up. He's a start. And with that,
let's actually tell people to get rid of let's have one sit. And it hurts me to say because Aldon Smith had been our baby since we watched him come back, had this amazing comeback, and since the last time we talked about him, he's been the defensive lineman 96 overall. That is not good if you don't play IDP, or if you do. He goes against Riley Reif, who has allowed 0 sacks, 2 quarterback pressures over the last 6 weeks. So if you have Aldon Smith in your lineup, take him out, which means he'll probably have 3 sacks and about 6 solo tackles. So congratulations.
Way to positively jinx Aldon Smith this week. Exactly. And so with that, folks, we told you short and sweet, to the point, get all your information and get out, go home. Don't forget to head over to fantasyandframes.com as you see scrolling at the bottom of your screen. We put out articles every day. If you're still looking to fill in your waiver wire spots, we have articles for waiver wire on offense, waiver wire articles on defense. The start and sit article for the week will come out tomorrow, as well as our matchups article where we highlight the key matchups that you do want to look at, as well as potentially avoid. And then, of course, look at our player profile articles, our 4-eyed observations on Friday, which Chetty, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be posting. So for David, for Teddy, for Nate, I'm Jorge. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week, folks. And don't forget to check out our pregame show Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern.